Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Bio Universe. I am Suyanka and today we will learn human reproductive system. When a baby begins to grow, the different parts of its body such as head, arms, legs and chest grow at different rates. For about the first 12 years of its life, it goes through a phase of body enlargement and mental development. During this phase, its reproductive organs develop at a slower rate. At about 12 years of age, body enlargement slows down and certain other changes begin to appear. These changes prepare the body for sexual reproduction. This phase is known as adolescence. During this phase, certain parts of the body change in appearance and the person also experiences new sensations such as extreme happiness, sadness, anger, insecurity, and so on. All this is due to the beginning of the secretion of hormones from the ovary and testes. The age when this begins is called the age of sexual maturity or puberty. During puberty in males, facial hairs begins to grow, the vocal cords become wide. Therefore, the voice begins to deepen. The testes become active and begin to produce sperms. The penis and the scrotum become larger. In females, the menstrual cycle begins and the breasts become enlarged. The male reproductive organs include the testes, seminal vesicles, penis, and some associated glands such as the prostate glands. Testes are important male reproductive organ which produces sperms. There are two oval testes which contained in a protective bag called scrotum or scrotal sac laying outside the abdominal cavity. The scrotal sac can elongate and contract depending upon the body temperature and external temperature. Sperms from the testes pass through the sperm duct known as vas deferens. The vas deferens runs entirely up to the urinary bladder from where it leads downward and is joined by a duct from the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicle is an elongated sac at the base of the urinary bladder. For each testis, there is one vas deferens and one seminal vesicle. The functions of a seminal vesicle are to store the sperms that have come from the testes and to secrete seminal fluid or semen in which the sperms float. The sperm ducts join near the base of the urinary bladder, opening into a single tube called urethra. This junction occurs inside the prostate gland. The prostate gland adds its secretion to the seminal fluid. The urethra leads to the outside of the body through an organ called penis. It carries both urine and seminal fluid. The penis is a muscular tubular organ made up of loose tissue with spaces in between. This is called erectile tissue. On being stimulated, the erectile tissue fills with blood, making the penis erect and firm so that it may enter the vagina of the female and discharge the sperms. The sperm is a male gamete. It has head and a long tail which helps it swim towards the ovum. The female reproductive organs includes the ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus and vagina. The ovaries are a pair of small oval organs in the lower part of the abdominal cavity. They produce ova. The ova start maturing when the female reaches puberty. Every 28 days, one of the ovaries releases an ovum. When an ovum is released from the ovary, it is taken up by a thin fallopian tube, also called oviduct, through its funnel-shaped opening. The ovum is passed down the duct and into the uterus, which passes it out of the body through vagina. The fallopian tubes or oviducts are a pair of thin tubes that lead from the ovaries to the uterus. Each fallopian tube has a funnel-shaped opening near the ovary. It is lined by cilia The movement of cilia helps conduct the ovum down the fallopian tube and into the uterus. The uterus, that is womb, is a hollow, pear-shaped, elastic muscular structure. Its upper portion, into which the fallopian tubes enter, is broader. The narrower lower portion, called cervix, consists of a ring of muscles. The uterus opens into the vagina through the cervix. A fertilized ovum, that is zygote, develops into a baby inside the uterus. The vagina is a tube leading to the outside of the body through an opening called vulva. The vagina is the organ where the penis is inserted during intercourse for the discharge of sperms. It is also the passage through which the fully developed baby is born. When semen is discharged in the vagina during sexual intercourse, the sperms begin moving up the vagina and uterus, finally reaching the fallopian tubes. But only one sperm enters the ovum. Most of the sperms die while climbing up the fallopian tubes. A sperm can remain alive in the fallopian tube for about 12 hours. In this span of time, if it meets the ovum, it is likely to enter the ovum. This is called fertilization. The fertilized egg, that is zygote, moves down the fallopian tube and continuously undergoes cell division. Thus, it forms a hollow ball of cells called embryo. The embryo gets embedded in the wall of the uterus, which is thick and has muscles, glands, and a large number of blood capillaries. This process is called implantation. The developing embryo at first derives nourishment directly from the mother's blood flowing in the vessels lining the uterine wall. In about 3 weeks, it starts absorbing food and oxygen through an organ called placenta. Embryo is connected to the placenta by a tube called the umbilical cord. The total period of embryonic development from the time of fertilization to birth is called gestation period. It is around 280 days or 9 months in humans. The wall of the uterus develops a thick layer of muscles during pregnancy. At the time of birth, the uterine muscles contract and powerfully, causing labor pains to the mother. Finally, the baby is expelled by the contraction of the uterine muscles. This is called birth or parturition. Do you know what happens when the egg is not fertilized? If the ovum is not fertilized in the upper part of the oviduct, it keeps on descending and is finally passed out through the vagina. It remains in the body for about 24 to 72 hours. As an egg is released for fertilization every month, the uterus also prepares itself every month for the implantation of the fertilized egg. The uterus becomes thick-walled and spongy in order to nourish the embryo. If no fertilization takes place, the thick uterine wall is no longer needed, so it gradually begins to shrink. This shrinkage ruptures its blood vessels. As a result, blood and mucus ooze out of the vagina. This period, which lasts for 3 to 5 days, is called menstrual period, and the process is called mensuration. Reproductive health is concerned with healthy and safe sexual practices. Unhealthy practices can lead to the transmission of disease from one partner to another and even to the offspring. Sexually transmitted diseases are caused by a variety of microorganisms that live in the warm and moist environments of the vagina, urethra, anus, etc. Sexually transmitted diseases occur mostly in individuals who are involved in sexual activity with many partners. Sexually transmitted diseases caused by bacteria are gonorrhea and syphilis. Diseases caused by viruses are herpes, genital warts, and cervical cancer. AIDS, that is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, is caused by human immunodeficiency virus, which attacks the immune system and kills people. To prevent sexually transmitted diseases, some of the precautions can be taken, such as using a protective covering called a condom over the penis, using disposable needles and syringes, not sharing saving blades or razors, not having multiple sex partners, testing and screening the blood for HIV before transfusing it. Reproduction is the process by which organisms increase their populations. The size of human population is a cause for concern for many people. This is because an expanding population makes it harder to improve everybody's standard of living. It is possible to limit the size of population by preventing pregnancy or conception. Prevention of conception is called contraception. It can be prevented in many ways. Mechanical methods of contraception are use of condom, diaphragm, and IUCD or loop or copper T. Chemical methods for this process is oral contraceptive pills or birth control pills. Surgical methods of this process is vasectomy, in which vas deferens get tied up by thread, and tubectomy, in which fallopian tube get tied by thread.